So, hello there, and welcome back to another one of these slightly longer videos where I try to look at words that I know students, certainly students of mine at Lexical Lab, often find confusing. This week's video was really prompted by something that happened in one of my classes recently. A student was chatting about her plans for the weekend, and she mentioned the fact that it was going to be her birthday. She then said, "It's a jubilee," at which point I looked at her and said, "I've no idea what that's supposed to mean." And she said, don't you call big birthdays like 30 or 40 jubilees in English?" To which I had to reply, "No, we don't." I can see where the confusion might come from. Obviously, in this case, I think it was a translation from L1, from her first language. But if you look up the word jubilee in a dictionary, it will tell you something like that a jubilee is a celebration of a day on which an important event happened many years ago. Well, this doesn't quite tell you everything about the way we use the word jubilee, because almost always it's basically used to talk about how long a particular king or queen has been in power, has been on the throne. And usually we only talk about jubilees when they mark 25 years, 50 years, or 60 years of a monarch's reign. So I can remember in 1977 when it was the Queen's Silver Jubilee, marking 25 years of the Queen, being the Queen. 25 years after that, the Queen celebrated her Golden Jubilee, 50 years on the throne. And eventually, before she died, she got to celebrate her Diamond Jubilee, 60 years on the throne. And basically, that's it with the word Jubilee. We talk about Silver Jubilees, Golden Jubilees, and Diamond Jubilees. Usually, when we're talking about a monarch having been on the throne for 25, 50, or 60 years. I guess sometimes in maybe official announcements or journalism, you might see something like the hospital will be celebrating its Golden Jubilee next Thursday. Or maybe the university celebrated its Diamond Jubilee last year. But basically, that's about it. When it comes to birthdays, if we're talking about birthdays with a 0 in them, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, we might call these big birthdays. So if you're going to be 40 or 50 or 60 next year, or next week, for example, you might tell people, "Hey, I've got a big birthday coming up next week." "Oh yeah? Yeah, I turn 40 on Saturday. I turn 50 on Sunday. I turn 60 next Wednesday, actually." Or you might say, "Yeah, I'm going to hit the big 40. I'm going to turn 40. Yeah, when I hit the big 50, when I turned 50, it was a bit of a shock, to be honest. I'd never really thought I'd get to live that long." And you might have a conversation like this, where you tell a friend, "Oh, it's my birthday next week, actually." "Ooh, really? Is it a big one?" "No, that was last year." "No, that's next year." "No, that's not for a couple of years yet. I'm 45, 57, 63 next week." The rest of the time, when we're talking about marking or celebrating days on which important events happened a long time ago, we tend to use the word anniversary. So maybe if you're married, you might celebrate your wedding anniversary every year by going out to a fancy restaurant somewhere. Maybe if you work in a company, you might be planning a big dinner to celebrate or to mark the 50th anniversary of the founding of the company. It's also often used to talk about more solemn, more sombre occasions where people get together to commemorate certain events in history. So you might hear something like, tomorrow marks the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War. And maybe when people are giving speeches, they might say things like, today, on the anniversary of this tragedy, we're here to remember not only those who died, but also the survivors and their families. And you also hear things like towns celebrating their 500th anniversary next year or last year. And it's also often used on social media where people might say, hey, did you know today is the 50th anniversary of the release of Ziggy Stardust by David Bowie, that kind of thing. If you've enjoyed this video, please do click the like button. Please share it with your friends on social media, with your colleagues. In the comments section, we'd love to see examples of how you might use anniversary or hitting the big 4-0 or big birthdays, or maybe even jubilees. You never know. And if you have words that you find confusing or things you'd like me to talk about at any point, please do let me know. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.